All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Countrywide Coordinator Training with Anna Maria Riezinger. Tonight is Thursday, May 28th, 2026. It's 5:16 p.m. Pacific time, and my name is Michelle Ford. I'm one of the coordinators for the California Assembly. So welcome to the call tonight. Do we have anyone on the call that would like to open us up in a prayer? All right, hearing none. If you have no issue with it, I'll go ahead and I'll lead us in a prayer tonight. Dear Heavenly Father God, Lord, we ask for your blessings. And I'd also just like to say that we are in awe, Lord, of your power and your authority. We know that you have supernatural authority. So we're asking for your help, God, on all 50 states, that we could stand up our assemblies and receive the inheritance that you promised us, which is the land. You promised us this land, Lord. So we ask that you help guide our steps and make sure that we do this lawfully and properly and with your wisdom and protection. May that fill each of us so that we have clear instructions and we know how to proceed honorably, Lord. Thank you for being with us tonight. We ask that you heal the sick and protect the wounded and the sad and the mourning and the grief-stricken, Lord, and the orphans and widows. And in Jesus' name I pray. Thank you. Amen. So be it. Okay, do we have anyone who would like to do the Bivens decision?
John Russell is here.
Awesome. Please go ahead, John Russell. Thank you.
Alrighty, this meeting is private, bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in a language or in the chat in the public forum is forbidden and shall be addressed in the appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflicts and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting who is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency or public agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agencies present? Is there any response for the Bevins decision for the first time? And a response for the second time? And a response for the third time? Anyone who is here under false pretenses, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including the territorial United States, municipal United States, anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here must fully disclose their presence and purpose now, or leave the premises and this conference call. If they subsequently show up as a federal witness, they are discredited for failure to disclose. I thank you, Michelle. Back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, John Russell. Okay, we have a lot of hands up, and Anna is not with us just yet. Are there any hands up that you have questions that may not necessarily be for Anna? I know a lot of people raise their hands right away to get in line, but there may be general questions. Anyone?
Michelle, this is Glenn on Pennsylvania.
Hi, Glenn.
I don't have my hand up. I just wanted to get this in before everybody got into their questions. I put in the chat where the people can go to order tickets for the All-American Family Reunion that we're going to host in September. Plans are coming together very well for it. We're getting all our ducks in a row. We found a couple of pigeons and chickens in there, but we're getting them all switched over to ducks. So we're getting it together. Just for those that are coordinators, please, I'm going to say it on the coordinator call Sunday with us, but take it to your assembly, let them know about it. They can order the tickets. They don't cost anything. If they ultimately can't make it, it's no biggie. Didn't lose any money, but they won't receive any other information from us in regards to how to get hotel rooms or what activities are going to be there or anything. So if you can get them to order their tickets, that would be wonderful. It would help us a whole lot. You can ask Lisa and Michelle. That's the hardest part, is trying to get an idea how many are actually going to attend. So whatever anybody could do to assist us with that, will love it. And I see Anna's here, so I'm going to be quiet and I feel. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Glenn. And I owe you an apology. I should have talked about that last night on our California Assembly call. So I apologize. We'll make sure to make a point of that
I
next.
see. I would have never known that if you hadn't been honest. So I appreciate it.
I'm putting my hand out, like.
Okay, thank you. I feel better. I yield.
Thank you, Glenn, for that great reminder. Okay, Anna is here. Anna, we are so happy to have you here tonight. There's so much going on. Let me bring you right up to the front. Let's see. There we go. There you are. Hi, Anna. Hello. No, you're muted, so we need to unmute you and give you the floor. There's already lots of hands up. So, one of the things I like to do is find out how much time do we have with you tonight before it just goes, hog wild for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, that's a good description of it. Let's call it a couple hours. We'll try for that.
We'll shoot for about 7:30-ish California time.
Yeah, or 6 o'clock, 6:15 here.
Okay,
This
all right.
is what I mean.
Okay, I'll keep my. Go ahead.
You know how it goes, but we'll try for that.
Now, did you have anything that you wanted to start with, or do you want to go straight to hands?
Well, I think that things are really up in the air this week. And you can see all of the parts and pieces are in motion. And the one thing that we really have to guard against is being tricked again. Okay. Repeatedly over the past 300 years, they've substituted themselves in a complex game of good cop, bad cop. And it's really all just the same cop, right? And now that the very bulk of the 200 are actually incarcerated and removed from the planet, things are breaking apart in a very chaotic way, because all those power structures and all those interlocking directorates and all of those hierarchical compartmentalized structures that the church and the military put in place are coming apart. And all of the suppressed information is coming out. And as a result, really, truly, the hunted, or I should say, the hunters have become the hunted. And it's increasingly that way all across the board. And what we're doing is to pull forward the indictments of the major players and organizations that have been accomplices and which have promoted, allowed, and inspired with these political and banking entities that have committed all of these crimes against humanity. So these are crimes against humanity. There's no doubt about it. It is just straight across the board crimes against humanity. There's genocide. There's institutionalized fraud. There's illegal takings and confiscations. There's illegal commercial mercenary activities. I mean, we have so many crimes that these people have committed knowingly and unknowingly that it is requiring all I can describe it as is a come to Jesus sort of meeting, and it's a complete change, okay? One of the things that has been made very apparent over the last couple of weeks is that this was all chosen. the dystopian nightmare that we've been living through, the dependence on so-called fossil fuels, the doctrine of scarcity, like the doctrine of discovery, was all promoted and pushed upon us by church and synagogue and mosque and temple leaders. And 200 of these supposed traditional and national religious leaders were in fact the fallen angels. And they were masquerading as religious leaders and pretending to have the highest moral authority. So these are situations that I guess they make sense if you think of it in terms of substituting yourself for someone or something else, because here are these fallen angels pretending to be our religious leaders and to have the highest lawful authority, when in fact they had no authority to speak for anyone at all. And we're certainly only promoting and continuing evils which are extremely ancient and well known. So in Astana, the capital of Kazakhstan, there is a building that is called the Peace Palace, and it's a pyramid. And it's a structure that was built as a model of a pyramidal structure that was destroyed during the Great Flood. And in that building was a hall that seated 200 exactly. And this was for a congress. They called it a congress of these 200 religious leaders that were in fact all found to be fallen angels. And this is really the big breakthrough that allowed us to identify the offices and those occupying those offices and hunt them down with great accuracy, and what was the real linchpin, I guess you could say, in the removal. They gave away their own hand. And so this is what finally allowed us to locate them, identify them exactly, and be sure that we had the right individuals in custody. Now, you can imagine the disruption that happens when the leaders of an entire transnational, worldwide crime syndicate are all either captured or placed under surveillance, 24-hour surveillance. It becomes impossible for the current system to continue for lack of leadership. It becomes impossible for all of these very 19th century or even 18th century models of economics and finance and commerce and everything else to continue in the face of all of the new and old technology that was suppressed coming forward. Now, the danger that we face is being tricked by these tricksters again. And we have reason to think that despite many of the good things that are coming out of the Trump administration, nonetheless, the corporation that Mr. Trump is president of is a British territorial corporation, and the affiliations with the government of Israel, which is a commercial government like all the others, again, is a big red flag. You will see that the opium addicts are touting everything that Trump is doing in the Middle East, which essentially means forming a coalition of Arab nations against Iran. is really just all these corporations that have been masquerading as governments in those countries, and which have all been controlled by Britain, getting together under Mr. Trump's auspices to bring pressure on Iran. And the other thing that Mr. Trump has managed to do is to coerce China, which is suffering horribly, to support him in the attack against Iran. The only one of Iran's allies that has stood firm with Iran is Russia. China was coerced because of dire economic and social and natural resource issues to forsake Iran. So that means that what Trump has done, although it's being touted as something against the old British Empire, is actually to do exactly what the old British Empire wanted done. And he's just simply trying to make it look like it's coming forward under American auspices instead of British auspices. And as he is the president of a British territorial corporation, it is actually under British auspices. And as always, they're trying to confuse their United States of America with our United States of America, and are using all of these semantic deceits to confuse Americans and other people throughout the world regarding who's doing what and why. And it's essential for us to keep our eyes on the ball and get the news out there so that people realize that no, Donald Trump is not America. Donald Trump is not even the United States of America that you all think of. Donald Trump is the president of a British territorial corporation calling itself the United States of America. Okay? And what he's done in the Mideast, by what I just described to you, is to bring a coalition of commercial corporations that are functioning as governments together to pick on a nation that is a sovereign nation and that they have no right to pick on at all. This is an illegal mercenary attack by corporations that are merely functioning as governments without really truly being governments. So these are issues of law and legality that have been, people haven't realized what was going on, so they couldn't take action about it, right? And so we're now against the wall here, seeing Donald Trump get away with all of this and trying to sound righteous about it and, you know, blaming the Brits while working for the Brits. And so what does this tell us? It tells us that we're in the middle of a good cop, bad cop scenario where they're using our manpower, equipment that we paid for the benefit of their commercial corporation, and they're pretending to be us, and they're abusing our Title IV wartime flag to carry out this attack against Iran. They're trying to make it look like they're supporting national governments and the sovereignty of individual countries, while they're doing the exact opposite. They're just bringing these British territorial corporations that have been operating as governments together to gang up on an actual sovereign nation. And so this is just more dirty dealing by the Brits. And Donald Trump is a Brit. He is working for the Brits. He's working for the United States of America Incorporated, not the United States of America we all think about and assume. So, you know, I'm sorry for all you MAGA supporters out there and everybody that thinks that this is all just brilliant. And I'm sorry for the ladies at Promethean Action, which You know, they talk a good line, and I have to assume that they're innocent of the kind of guile and deceit that this actually involves. But at the same time, it is a wolf in sheep's clothing scenario when you have a British territorial corporation president accusing the British government of wrongdoing and accusing the British government of fraud and various other crimes, but actually carrying out the will of that same British government. And so just because they say that they are supporting national governments, with these folks, you have to stop and ask, well, what do they mean by national? And what do they mean by government? You see, they are so completely deceptive, twisted, evil in their mindset and in their practices that nothing they say can be trusted at face value. Nothing. And so they're going out there and saying, yes, we're respecting the rights of the nations and we're respecting the rights of the people. But are they? Are they really? And where's the proof of that? And why are they attacking Iran, really? Okay. A lot of the diatribe about Iran, it doesn't make sense any more than the weapons of mass destruction that were the excuse for Iraq's, for invading Iraq. It makes no sense. There's nothing that's coming out of this clean. It's possible that President Trump had a valid good reason to attack Iran, just like it's possible for it to snow in June in Alaska. Okay, it's possible. But there's no proof there. There's nothing that's solid. There's nothing that really pencils out and makes sense. There's no 2 + 2 = 4 to Trump just out of the blue, taking a sidebar job and going over there and attacking Iran in our name and then pretending it had something to do with defending our country. It doesn't. There's nothing there. There's nothing substantive proving that Iran was any threat to us or even to Israel, really, because the real threat in the entire region was Britain. It was Britain that created the Muslim Brotherhood. And from the Muslim Brotherhood derived all of these different terrorist organizations that we all know and don't love. Hamas, ISIS, all the quote unquote Jordanian freedom fighters, all of this was engineered by Britain. And since the early 1900s, Britain has been in charge of the Iranian government. So what? We have a British sea captain, a commander-in-chief, and you guys who've been in the military know that a commander is a naval office. It is not a land office, okay? So they've got a British territorial ship's captain, a commander-in-chief, who is attacking the sovereign government of Iran, and we still don't have any plausible reason for why he's doing this. It's just more hand-waving, like George W. Bush saying, oh, there are weapons of destruction in Iraq. So don't trust this situation at all. Don't trust anything that you hear coming out of DC. Don't trust the narratives and the nice explanations for this. Because to date, even though we hold out the possibility that there was some justification for this, there is nothing firm, nothing substantive coming out that explains to us why Donald Trump attacked Iran. And there is absolutely no reason to think that him creating a coalition of other British territorial commercial corporations that have been acting as de facto governments in all these other Arab countries is a good thing when they're just going to attack the last sovereign nation standing in the Middle East, which it just happens to be Iran. I think my personal opinion is that Donald Trump and these other corporate leaders got together and said, hey, we can steal Iran's oil and resources and control the crossroads of the Middle East, and we can go in and we can steal all of their architectural and mathematical and physics and everything. We can steal all their stuff. We can steal their history. We can suppress what we can't steal. And we can play our same old game that we've been playing for the last 300 years. And we can dress it up and make it look like something good and pat ourselves on the shoulders. And we can charge our clients that are paying us to make this attack. And then we can charge our costs off against the American people by pretending that this had something to do with defending them. You see, they're making money hand over fist, both going and coming, and they're telling us this big story about attacking Britain while they're carrying out Britain's orders. It's bullshit. And, there are those of us who are not, obviously, we're not divvying up any words here. We're just flat out saying it's bullshit. And we're saying Donald Trump is a commander-in-chief on the great and bounding high seas. He's not a commander-in-chief here on our land. And he's not acting according to his service contract on obligations to us, the American people. And no, we are not going to pay for their costs in promoting a senseless war in the Middle East. Their corporation is going to have to bear those costs, and the principals in back of those corporations are going to have to bear those costs, including all of the destruction of the antiquated, obsolete military bases in all those Middle Eastern countries, because that is a large part of what they were trying to foist off on us. If you look at the situation, they went over and they built all these multi-billion-dollar radar installations and multi-billion-dollar missile systems and whatnot. And in the meantime, the technology had gone so far, so fast, that individual missiles with their own guidance systems, like drone guidance systems, had taken over and rendered all of those installations useless. Now, you've heard about Israel's Iron Dome. This was supposed to intercept any incoming missiles and protect Israel from being attacked by missiles and drones, right? Well, the technology went too fast, and it was utterly unable to do what it was supposed to do. It could not perform as promised and give that kind of protection at all. And so they were stuck with the cost of this very expensive system that was obsolete almost at the time it was built. And so who picks up the paycheck for that? Who's the one who gets stuck for that? Well, they're trying to stick us with it because they've gone in and bombed all those obsolete installations. And so they're going to try to count that as a multi-billion-dollar loss, right? Isn't that just lovely? And they're going to give us the bill for it.
Well,
and we're going to tell them to shove it.
I can't help but wonder, Anna, if the whole attack and all this stuff going on in Iran is just an attention grabber to have all eyes on foreign land so that we're not paying attention locally on the theft of land that's being used for these data centers. They're stealing land, they're stealing water resources, all under the noses of innocent people that are trying to stand up, and they're not being heard. They're being ignored, and their natural resources are being stolen right here at home while everyone's talking about Iran. So,
well, yeah, but no, they're making money off of this for sure. They're trying to make a lot of money on this, which then gives them the money to do the things that they're doing here. You see, they're on the ropes as far as money goes. Trump is in bankruptcy actually and had to pay it off. So they took this job in the Middle East to pay off, to get out of bankruptcy, right? And now they're counting on being able to charge off the rest of it, the cost of the campaign against us, and give themselves enough money to continue all the other rotten, no good things they're doing.
Well, it's a mess because what's happening is our state assemblies are working hard on standing up, is they're left wondering, and I hear this all the time, am I supposed to be standing? Am I supposed to be objecting and
Yes,
petitioning and doing what we were doing before status correction?
well, no, you don't have to do it in the same vein at all. You can come in as the state and tell them flat out, no. And as the county, have you ever wondered how the Native Americans were able to stop the big pipelines, the oil pipelines and all of that? They were acting as land jurisdiction counties. So, this is how you control what happens in your county. And you can also, if you've got a bunch of council members and people that are just running roughshod, you can run a recall election. We had a situation not too long ago where the people repeatedly told this group of local council members, commission members, that they didn't want a data center. And the data center people were just pushing it on them and pushing it on them. So they hauled up and they just decided that they would remove all of those commissioners, which they did in prompt order, and got new people in there who would listen. So even at that level, there's a lot you can do, is to target those commissioners and others that are trying to push this crap on people, and just vote them out. That's another valid way to do it.
Well, but if we're not, I know I'm going to be getting calls about this because you just said it. If we've revoked our election to participate in their voting system, then how do we vote them out? What's the strategy for holding them accountable and getting rid of these bad actors?
Just get everybody else all worked up, make them vote.
Well, but here's the rub. Here's the rub, right? In one hand, we're talking to people about status correction because we have superior concurrent general jurisdiction on our counties. And
Right.
now we're going back on one knee going, help us. We need you to vote them out.
No, we're depending on our neighbors to vote them out.
Okay, so you're saying that the electors in the de facto municipal system have the authority to overturn, recall their people, right? How come we don't have the authority to get rid of those people?
Oh my God.
By the way, Lisa is doing an open mouth emoji, which usually means that she has something to say. Go ahead, Lisa.
Thanks, Michelle. So, the way we do it on Ohio is we basically hit the social media sites, and we take and kind of add fuel to the fire. So for example, right now on Ohio, they're trying to abolish property taxes. And the next they want to abolish income taxes. And the property tax people have really put a movement together, grassroots. And I've been feeding them what it really says, what their constitutional delegated authority was. I've been feeding all of that in the background, right? Giving them ammunition and discussing it and answering questions. I've not brought up, in most cases, state assembly at all. Okay. Occasionally I will mention it. Okay. But we go out and we kind of feed that fuel in the background. And then, we try to kind of watch, because ultimately, with particularly an issue like property tax, because we have superior concurrent general jurisdiction, when it comes down to abolishing it, if the governor decides he's going to try to veto it, the state assembly can step in and go, that's not your bailiwick, that's ours, and we say abolish it. Okay? And that will bode well when you come out with, we're the state assembly and we're here to support you in your freedom. Okay? So that's how we handle it. I yield.
Thank you, Lisa. I mean, I imagine that eventually everyone is going to choose a path of freedom and getting rid of these do nothing employees that are actually on the take. Living large and working for various corporations instead of working for the people that put them into those offices. So it might be pie in the sky to think that we will be a majority, a big majority, not that we're a democracy, but that we'll have staying power and authority in a real world sense, where everyone recognizes that the people of the land and soil have the ultimate say. But in this interim time, I love what you just said, Lisa, because that does help, that we would provide and feed resources and law to help empower those that are like constituents of these elected officials. Because I do see that may be a necessary band-aid while we're in this interim period. As someone who spent approximately 10 years, almost 10 years, doing the quote activism thing and having legislators promise one thing and do another, and ultimately serve the corporations that had a lot of money. We didn't have money to put in their pockets, but they were receiving money from companies that were, special interest lobbyists, and having these legislators do the bidding of very evil deeds. It's frustrating because it takes a very long time. And in some cases, you don't win. You don't win. And I don't want to dissuade or poo-poo the idea of taking that route. If that's Anna's recommendation, that we do that and partner up and help support activists in these areas. So I don't mean it to sound like that, but it's very discouraging when you have legislators that are just going like, they smile and nod and I hear you, right? And they do this and, oh my gosh, thank you very much. I'll read this. And they didn't read it. They didn't give a damn. They don't care. They care about getting their pockets lined with big dollars and wielding this sort of like arrogant authority over the lives of all the little people. Ultimately, nothing can happen to us without our consent. On a case-by-case, individual basis, we all have the authority to say no to any given thing at any given time. However, when it comes to neighborhoods, communities, cities, towns, it looks like we're going to have to be partnering up with the activists that are in de facto, who are voters in that system. And that's kind of what I'm hearing in this. That's kind of what I'm hearing right now. It feels like a step backwards, but if that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do. And
so, may I, Michelle? I don't see it as a step backwards, because we're gently educating them as to what their rights really are, to exactly how to work with or defeat what they're trying to do. They're voting on their side. We're supporting it on our side. And yes, it's sort of both ends against the middle. We are going to try to provide as much of that information, because if you get known as a source for the information, then you're going to be the go-to for them. And they're going to they're going to accept what you're saying. And when it's time to introduce the assembly, they may accept that easily too. Don't forget that.
I love that. And I hold hope very, very high. I unfortunately have received many more calls of concern, accounts being levied, properties being stolen. And so there's a lot of urgency and timeliness where I know that our assembly has the power and the authority and the status, standing, and jurisdiction to make the difference. So I know that we're going to get this job done. In the meantime, we have at least on California. This may not be happening on other states. I'm not sure. But Californians are suffering despite our notices to Marco Rubio, Franchise Tax Board, and others. We're really having a very hard time. And so people are having a challenge. Everyone continues to rebut presumptions, send objections and letters and notices. And, people are active. But we're seeing a backwards paradigm as usual.
The important
That's why
thing
it's
that
important. I was going to say, Anna, that's why it's important for everybody to get their assemblies up, because one state is nothing without other states. I yield.
Right. This is why we should all be working really hard to get our assemblies populated and getting everybody stood up and get our courts functioning. Okay. This is why this is our redress. This is how we can actually fight back effectively, is by bringing more and more people together and, becoming a stronger bloc to take action in an organized fashion. Because unfortunately, these liars and thieves got into positions of public trust, and they really don't have any right to be doing what they're doing at all. They're not really public officials of ours. And, once that gets stripped away from them, then suddenly you have to have something ready to step into the vacuum that's created. Once we all realize that the emperor has no clothes, there has to be a different system that's ready to take over and to be the right system. And that's what we're building here in tandem. They're still going off and doing their thing over there with their supposed, imaginary franchises. But we're the real people, and we're over here doing something entirely different. And when the day comes, and it's coming fast, within the next 90 days, all these things become public, then we have to be ready to step in and do our part and really perform. And I'm sitting here with this great sense of urgency that we really need to be moving our assemblies forward and getting prepared and having our courts stood up and having our account set up at GFG, having everybody ready to move, because it's coming. It's coming fast. And we are getting ready to serve indictments, international indictments. Okay, so these are major actions that are requiring a lot of time and effort and a lot of thought, but they have to then be enforced. And once they're enforced, we have to have a new system ready to go to have a completely different mode of operations in place, so that everything doesn't just spiral out of control. Okay. So folks, what we need to be concentrating on is building up our assemblies, building up our operational capacity, building up our population of people who are already on the land and soil. We need to be building up our courts. We need to be building up our militias, and we need to be building up our our knowledge so that we're ready. And we don't have much time left. I know that, you know, when push comes to shove, Americans will always stand together and they'll always stand up. I do know that. But I don't think that many people are ready for the kind of change that's needed and necessary, and which will come one way or another, simply because of the, I guess you could call it the nature of things, the nature of human nature and the nature of nature. The old saying in the Roman Civil Law is that when what is true comes, the false must pass away. Well, we're the true, we're the actual being, and all these persons that have been created and named after us are the false. And at the end of the day, what's real always conquers what's false. What is true conquers what is false. So we know the outcome of this particular battle, but we also know that these phony legal fiction entities have taken up a space as a middleman, and they've controlled so much for so long that as we dismantle them, it's creating problems, and it will continue to create problems, and we're all going to have to work hard to be able to maintain a system that works in the interim as a transition. The good news is that we have such a system in place. The good news is that the evils and the criminality of those that have promoted the current de facto system are being exposed on a daily basis, and more people are waking up, listening, and seeing. And as a result, these rotten no good necks aren't getting away with nearly as much as they used to. But I'm also hoping that you will all see that the urgent need for all of us to bear down on the work in front of us. I certainly have to bear down on the work in front of me. And all of you need to be working on your states and your assemblies to be ready and to be competent and to get organized and have people that you trust in places of authority within the assemblies.
That's what we need to do, Anna. Stand up our assemblies, get everybody in their positions that want to serve and are really ready to be dedicated and hyper focused on that role, and stand up our assemblies. We have the blueprint as per the Ohio Assembly, successfully doing that because of Lisa and all of the dedicated volunteers on Ohio. So we have the blueprint, and now we just need the people that are willing to say, I'm willing to help. And so that's the task that we are called to do. And I think it's no surprise that, you know, here we are tonight, it's 174 of us on the call. But there are way many more that are status corrected and that have answered this call. They may not necessarily know what they need to do. And so,
yeah.
So Anna, you have 10 hands up and
Let's go.
A little over an hour. So that would give us like, you know,
5 minutes each.
Yeah.
We can try, right?
All right, we're going to do our very best. I'll keep an eye on the time. It's 6:05, so we have like an hour and 10 minutes. Debbie Gilman, go ahead, Debbie, you're up first.
Hey, it's not really a question, Anna. How are you guys doing? Debbie Jo in Tennessee. I have just 3 things I would like to share from Tennessee to everyone, if that is okay.
Yeah.
So we had an ASN need to apply for unemployment last week. Went to Tennessee.gov, and when he was doing his application, he came to the U.S. citizenship question, and it states, are you a United States citizen or American national?
Good.
It's a win. The next thing that's a win is on a different level. We have an ASN that her sister is a cook on the tugboats. And when she went to go get her knit card renewed, she told her sister that that was the same question. It was a U.S. citizenship, a U.S. United States citizen or American national, and she is on the waterways in Tennessee. So everybody, please know that there are movement in some areas. And the last thing was a conversation I had with an ASN visiting his family in Kentucky. There was a military man there, and they were discussing some things, and being an American came up and stated and said that that they have been noticed. They're being pulling their troops back. They have an NDA where they can talk to some United States Americans, not US citizens, but had a conversation and said that the military certified Ohio and Tennessee is doing their elections correctly. And that was from I was here. This is what the story was told to me, so I thought I would share. And Lisa, so just so you know,
Thank you,
That's
Debbie.
great.
yeah.
Well, and we are doing it right. We are.
Mhm.
Everything that we've done has been properly ordered. We've done it in the right order. We've done the right things. We've served the right notices. We've done the right due process. Nobody can mistake who we are. Nobody can mistake where we're coming from. This idea that that they've been able to get away with all of this evil for all these years for lack of us standing up and telling them who we are is finally coming to an end. So, and you can all take a bow and, because it's because of you that these changes are happening. It's because we as a country and as a people are getting our act together. And you've all played a part in that and continue to play a vital part in that. And I'll tell you what, when I come up against groups like the United Nations, or I come up against a foreign government, and, they're trying to call us into question, I can cut them off at the knees so easily because of you. Because you're all standing here in your states, and you're holding the line, you're holding the keys. You guys have got the deed to your state, right? You've got the grant, you've got the deed, you got the whole thing here. You got the possession, and it's because you're doing that we still have a country. If you weren't doing what you're doing and bringing more people on board to do the same, we wouldn't have a country right now. Our country would be lost. And everything that our forefathers fought for, we would have to fight for again. Okay? And I don't know about you, but I don't like paying for the same real estate twice.
Not at all.
So, everybody, kudos. Many hands have contributed to this work, and more will be contributing in the years to come. But it's because the Americans are standing up that the Americans are being recognized. And worldwide, this is happening. All these world leaders that used to rant and rave about America, they're now ranting and raving about Britain. They're ranting and raving about the US. We're no longer in the crosshairs as the scapegoats. And that's because of us. It's because we raised our hands. It's because we stood up. It's because we declared ourselves. It's because we brought our assemblies back into session. It's because we proved that we exist. And so all of a sudden, the tide is turning. And if you see any, footage of the British are in complete disarray. because it's catching up to them. The cows are coming home. All of the rotten things that they've done worldwide, and which they've used us as a storefront for, as the persona, right? They're getting the blame back on them where it belongs.
Well, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yep, I like that. Yep.
Love that Joe shared about those areas where there's that choice, U.S. citizen or a state national. It's the same with there's a health share that has that now. It's called Impact, and it's not health insurance. It's like a health share, and they have that option as well. So I wanted to add that. Yeah.
Well, and you'll see more and more of it because the American nationals can afford to pay for the service.
Awesome. Thanks, Anna. Very encouraging. All right. Well, okay, the time is just ticking here. So we've got Mike McGowan up next. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Anna. We talked some time ago. I think from what I understand that once we get back to the land, then we need, whenever we use a Federal Reserve note or go to Walmart or any of that stuff, we need your private indemnity bond. And I still haven't been able to find it on the Treasury site. I did submit a FOIA request to them. They have no idea where it is. And I actually wrote a whole new program to catalog your blog articles so that you can do a search now, because I added the article numbers to all of the articles. So when the search comes up, it lists them in article number order as well as relevance. You can pick either or. But I can't find where you've referenced that on any one of your articles. And like I said, if I understand this correctly, we need this, because otherwise they stick the presumption on us that, hey, you don't have a private indemnity bond, so you never left the de facto, right?
Well, Terry has it posted. It's posted on my old Facebook page. It's been around. All people on this call tonight have copies of the actual indemnity bond. They have JPEGs of it.
Right.
And,
I know that it exists.
I personally sent you I went and dug up. I'm tired tonight, folks. But anyway, I dug up the actual treasury.gov screenshot of the listing of it.
Oh,
so
yeah, I
it's
never
there.
got that. Yeah, can you resend that to me?
Okay.
Yeah, because even in your the international notice you did with the seal, it says that it's lodged with the 1789 Treasury. So that would be the US, their treasury, right? So they would have to acknowledge it in some fashion.
Right, and they do have it.
Right. They just don't want to admit it.
It's on their website. You can go into their searchable database, plug in the list, the AMRI 00001, and it will come up. It's right there on their database where it has to be.
Yeah, the only bonds that they list on their site are if you have lost bonds. It wouldn't be there, would it?
You're on the wrong website then. No, no. It's not lost. It's right there. It's lodged with them at I think it's treasury.gov.
Yeah,
website.
Yeah, I've been through that site many times, and I've, like I said, I sent the FOIA request to them. So I'm just trying to get them to acknowledge that they have it. That's all.
Well, and this is the one, right, Anna? The one that's on
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got the copy of the bond. I just need them to acknowledge it, because in your statement you say it's lodged with them. So, I just want to make them accountable, because then we have something, the second witness, you're the presenter, but then you have to have 2 or 3 witnesses that they have it. And so that's what I'm trying to establish, because then that gives me a basis of going to my neighbors and saying, look, there's the private indemnity bond that is
I
with
don't know
them.
how you're possibly missing this unless you're going to the wrong treasury. I really
Okay.
don't. Because
I'm not,
So,
yeah,
I think we need to move on with the other hands that are raised at this
no
point.
problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And I hope that you find the resource that you need because the bond has been something that's been around for a long time. David Hara, go ahead. You're up next.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one point. I've been sending Anna $100 every now and then, maybe once a month, and we've got 174 people here today. If everybody would just send Anna as much as they can, $100, that would provide $17,000 in Anna's pocket tonight. So I'm just urging people to do that, and I yield.
God bless you, David Hara. I've been sitting here and I'm feeling hamstrung in some of our efforts for lack of $10,000.
Yeah, Anna, I feel that every day. So God bless you, Anna. I yield.
Thank you. It's so funny. I was praying to God the other night and I said, I don't know how we can get through all this. And I just kind of felt it in my soul that help was on the way. And there you are. Thank you, David. Thank you for remembering me and all of us here at the Federation.
Thank you. Yeah, and May Pittman also reminded us last night that she sent off money. So she does it from the Los Angeles County Assembly as our treasurer pretty consistently. That's my understanding. So hopefully that's coming through.
Yeah, the Santa Cruz County has sent $200 this past month. So we're doing the same thing. I yield.
Awesome. Thank you, David. All right, Gerda on British Columbia. Go ahead, Gerda.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll try to be quick. I have 2 questions. One concerns the land recording offices, and the other one concerns training that's coming up. Regarding the land recording office, we're trying to move forward with that and wonder if there is a place where we can go to, where there's any guidance we can get on how to set ours up, what is important for us to consider.
The land recording functions are many and varied. There's a big push that comes at the beginning to establish where a parcel really actually is and what its boundaries are and who owns it, right? So there's this first there's a title search, and then there's a search to get back to the grant or whatever is underlying the title system that was imposed by the British. In Canada, it's a British system all the way through, and it's a title system all the way through. So you do a chain of title search, and that will take you back to the establishment of the trust. And it's a royal trust that basically the king continues to have titles that he apportions to his subjects, right?
Yes. I guess I'm asking, do we need to record all of that information for all the people when we're collecting their information? Do they need to send that to us, or is it just their documents representing their titles that they have gathered, allodial titles, and now they're sending that information to us at our land recording office? Do we need to do the mapping?
So far we only have one organization that has stepped up that has both of those functions, so that you can, through this one site, you can enter all of your titles and everything, and then you can get your your status corrected all under one umbrella, okay? And
Yes,
as an example, I direct you to take a look at the bucolic law firm. I think it's just bucolic law. And bucolic law was set up to do this, so that if you're a farmer or, even a smallholder, but especially it's set up for farms and people that make their living off the land, where you can go and you can establish your chain of title, establish your grant, your patent, and everything in the public record. And at the same site, you can correct your status. So that might be a good model for Canada.
I'll have another look at that. We did look at some of the American sites that mentioned LROs, and we don't have access to the information, like we're blocked from accessing it. And I'll check with Nitty and see if we can access more from
Yeah,
her information.
I'm sure that we can help you get, kind of the lay of the land, so to speak, and
Okay.
that you can get system help.
Okay. Yeah, that would be wonderful. I'll reach out to her first and see what happens. My second question has to do with coordinator training that I understand is happening soon. And we're still in the process of trying to get organized with Terra Canada. We're supposed to be talking to someone from the Peacekeeping Task Force in Ombuds tomorrow. So that's really good. And yeah, we're just wondering if we, in the meantime, have access to any of the training programs that are starting soon, so that our people will be informed as well as possible.
Well,
Anna,
that's at
may
least
I?
a question.
May I, please? This particular assembly that's been coming forward, or group, has not returned to Terra Canada. They left not in good standing. We've been trying to get them to come back to become in good standing. And we really want to reach out to them because we have some heartfelt. Been told that if two men stand together, they can create an assembly, and there's on a county level, and there's nothing the state's assembly can do about it. And so we believe they've been misled. We received a letter from Gerda herself stating that they have no intention to rejoin the Terra Canada States Assembly. So I'd like to correct the record. And we've done nothing but try to protect their honor, act in love, and not even make comments weekly as they appear and testify against themselves, because it's the righteous thing to do. So we'd like to welcome them all to come back to the assembly, to get back in good standing. We have every one of these things they've been asking for over the last months, and it's open to them. So please do reach out. And we do not recognize your group. Unfortunately, Canada, we're not going to be using the word province because we don't want to be associated with Rome. And there's a whole bunch of history there that we're aware of that, this particular group has no knowledge of. And we just want to share that and get forward. And so please, Gorda, work with us. Don't send us letters saying you don't want to be part of us and then show up and say we haven't responded to you. Please. We're asking you to do the honorable thing, and I yield.
I would like to respond, and I would like to say that we would like to post the letters that you have sent to us saying you're not at all interested in meeting with us, and we cannot come back with only you doing all the dictating. So we would very much like to meet with you. We're organizing an ombuds to help us, and we hope you reply to that. And I don't think you're quite representing what you're saying tonight, that you're interested is not reflected in your letters at all. So I'll just say that. I don't want to take up time here.
Thank you, Gerda. And those letters were written after the committee of the whole met. That's from the assembly. I'm the coordinator. The people made those letters.
I yield.
Very well. Well, we will be sharing them because I think they are very important letters for all the correspondence to be viewed.
Okay, and Anna's muted. Anna, go ahead and unmute. And just a quick sentiment. I pray for Canada that there could be peace on Canada and that the assembly there could forage a path forward, because really we are not each other's enemy. We should be working, we have a common enemy, which is this empire that has held all of us down. And I just pray that you guys can work it out. Go ahead, Anna.
Thank you.
Problem with Canada is there's a lot of history that the people don't know, number one. Number two, there's a movement now to join actual Canadian provinces as states of the United States. And three, there is a need for opening up a whole new level of government that Canada's never had. Okay? Because all of the land in Canada actually has been part of a national trust, a royal trust. There's no land government there. It's not like they're restoring something. It just never existed before. And they have the opportunity now to make it exist and organize it at multiple levels, at what would be the equivalent of county and state levels in our system. Okay? But beyond that, there's the need for an international body. Okay? So in Canada, there are these open holes, they're like, there's a door, but there's no door. Okay, you've got to actually put in the door frame, and you got to go get the door. You got to actually build the thing, right? And we were lucky that our doors were already there, but Canada has to build something new. And that's a different prospect from what we have, where we merely need to restore what we already had. And so there's been a lot of misunderstanding, I think, between these groups, and they all need to get together and get a bigger picture of what they're up against, and also take into consideration among all these options, what best serves the interests of the Canadian people. Because that's what it's all about, right? Everybody agrees that the function of government is to protect the people and their assets. So
I
hope
agree.
that we can have that kind of meeting soon with Terra Canada and the different assemblies that have come into being over the last couple of years, and that we get together to create a system that really works for people instead of corporations, and which gives everybody a voice.
Agree. I agree.
Thank you, Anna. And thank you, Gwen. Thank you, Gerda. I know that there will be peace, and Terra Canada, just like all 50 states here on America. Okay, we will be successful. We will, and we can do it better united. All right, Gerda, was there anything else before we go on to the next hand?
No, I'm finished. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, John Russell, go ahead, John.
Good evening, everybody. How we doing? All right, Anna. The other day we had our meeting and everything went pretty good. Our General Assembly meeting, we had a question come up. Mark Rubio, can we send out the notices to him now? Is everything finalized? Do we have more information we need? That's the question I have for you tonight.
I believe that we've got everything finalized. All you have to do is, in addition on the template, is add your return address, give them a contact for you. What I've gotten back as a an informal response is that they're setting up an office that will be helping American nationals and putting the information together. They're in chaos, as you might expect. The municipal government technically no longer exists, and we're the inheritors of it. It continues to be funded and to kind of ratchet along, but without the municipal government being actually under direction, right? It makes it very difficult for the British territorial government to do all the work and to oversee all the work, right?
Yes.
So they're having a rough time trying to get it together and reestablish offices that were dissolved essentially, and then bring it back online so that they have the mechanisms to communicate to all of the remaining federal agencies and federal departments. At one point in our history, there was a system set up where American nationals would, make their statement and then they would be added to a list, and the information would go out nationwide to all of the agencies and departments, and everybody would get the memo, and then we would be treated as Americans instead of as British territorials or as municipal citizenry. That office was dissolved as part of the whole restructuring and the bankruptcy of the United States Corporation. And they're just now getting into position to, well, I guess, restore or rebuild that function for us.
All right, very good. Now, one other thing, can we charge Mr. Trump for the loss of life that has occurred from this battle that he's got us into now? Can we
Yes,
back
we
charge
can.
him?
Yes, we can.
That should be put on the list, I do believe.
Well, it is on the list. I mean, they already owe us more than they can ever repay. Realistically, it's an insurmountable debt. But if you'll recall, Jim set up a notice and claim that it's $1 trillion for every American who's killed or maimed as a result of British territorial corporate policies. And that's what this is. That happened back during the pandemic.
Yes, I remember that. That's where I got the idea from. So I just wanted to ask you again on that. Thank you.
Right. It's not limited to the pandemic. That's a line in the sand commercial claim against a commercial corporation.
Well, the last thing that we have is we've had rain here for the last over a week now, heavy rains, and South Carolina and North Carolina are back in the flooding again. And Bat Cave and all those places up there in North Carolina are really in trouble again. So I thought I'd let you know that. Rebecca was on. She was going to ask you a question. I don't see her now, but maybe she's still there. So when she comes up, you could ask her more information on that if you'd like, because they're going to need help.
Okay.
Thank you,
Well,
and I appreciate it. And you have a great evening.
Yeah, you too, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John Russell. Okay, Nancy Brainerd on Texas. Go ahead, Nancy.
Hi, Anna. Please don't throw tomatoes or eggs at me, because this is going to be a stupid one. When or why would the General Assembly pillar hand off standing up the state court over to the IBA?
They wouldn't ever.
Thank you. Okay, my next question. And really, this is more, I got an email today, and it's from some guy out of the Florida Republic requesting partnership to paper up people and set them up trust. His name is Matthew Santiago, and the name of the company is Lux Umbra RFX. Have you heard of them? And how do I respond to this?
Tell him that this is not an appropriate activity to pursue in this country, and that each individual person will be contacted and contracted through their own state that they control, not a state of state.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then this one is kind of a future question, because I was watching some sort of historical something the other day. When or will immigrants, whether they're undocumented, green card, naturalized, when we go to the Continental Congress, are those men and women who've papered up, are they eligible to serve because they were immigrants? So I think I learned in school, that if you're an immigrant, you can't even serve as a president or something. I don't know if I framed that question right.
You can't serve as president. Any other office you can qualify for. You still have qualifications. There's still eligibility qualifications. But the only one that you cannot occupy is our presidency. And the American presidencies of the American Federal Republic and all the American offices of president require that you be born in this country and that you be at least 45 years old. Those are the requirements. But all the other offices, you can potentially work your way up to be a U.S. senator, in the American Federal Republic. Our country is amazingly egalitarian. I mean, it opens its arms wide and lets people be who they're going to be. And, if you love this country and you want to serve it, you get the honor and the glory. And we don't have a lot of restrictions and a lot of eligibility requirements. And we don't have bloodlines and pedigrees and titles and all that kind of crap. But the office of our president, the American president, you have to be at least 45 years old and you have to be born in this country. Now, that was the American Federal Republic. And of course, the American Federal Republic has not been in business since 1861. All these other presidential offices, like the one that Trump is occupying now, is President of the United States of America Incorporated, is a British territorial corporation. At this point, they have different requirements, and they, of course, do not require that their president be born in this country. So that's why you get people like Obama and Trump himself. Donald Trump was not born in this country. He's not eligible to serve as our president. We thought that he was because it was put out on the news that, this was Donald Trump. But then we found out that Trump was supposedly born in, like 1942 or something. And the information came back that he was born in 1966 in New York. And I think that we all know that Donald Trump, or at least the Donald Trump that we all see on TV and that we talk about as Donald Trump, is not 60 years old. So there's a lot of things, but it does look credible that he was born in Bavaria. And so he would not be eligible to serve as our president, as the American Federal Republic president, but he would be eligible to serve as the British Territorial Company president.
So going back to, went to the Continental Congress and they were undocumented. They were born on another country and they've papered up and they're assimilated. But should they take an extra step and somehow notify their homeland?
Well, here's the thing. People that are born in different countries, it depends upon the country's policies, whether or not they're still considered a national of that country by that country. Okay, so for example, right now, Mexico considers anybody who's born in Mexico a Mexican forever. And it doesn't matter what they say or do about it. Mexico considers them one of Mexico's, and that's all there is, right? So you can move to this country and you can go through the entire process of being naturalized and living here and adopting your state, say California or Arizona, as your state of the union, and you can be fully recognized as an American state national here in this country, but you're still going to be a dual national in the international forum because Mexico is never going to let you go. And it's the same way with Germany. So some of these countries, you're just pegged as a dual national for life. And there's nothing you can do about it. What you can do is you can, make a declaration of intent. I believe it's what it's called, the Declaration of Intent. It came up in a very, very famous case in Minnesota back in the 1860s. I think it was Riezinger versus Minnesota. But the upshot of it is that you need to declare your intention to be and remain an American state national of whatever state, and to be fully integrated and considered an American state national. And from that you can build out and build up. The Rayum case was that the guy had moved here from Austria, I believe, and he had never made a declaration and never made any kind of statement of intent to be considered a Minnesotan. And so they had a problem over that because he hadn't actually claimed to be a Minnesotan. Obviously, all our people are claiming to be a Texan or, a Kentuckian or whatever, we're all claiming our state. So we don't have that problem.
Thank you so much, Anna. I yield.
Thank you, Nancy. I did get your email, and yes, there is a lot to be done and said about that particular subject, the BOEs. That's part of the gigantic fraud scheme that we are addressing, and it is going to get brought out, and there will be more information about all that, and you'll see how it all worked.
Great. Thank you, Anna. Okay, next up we have Marlene on Washington. Go ahead, Marlene.
Hi, Anna.
Hi.
It's Marlene on Washington. I got a quick question for you. Today we were spun out of control, and I think we got in our head a little bit, but we listened to Lisa's call on Mop and Bucket and last week, and she talked about Oregon country and the territorial layout between Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. Okay. Oregon was 1848, Washington was 1853, and Idaho was 1863 when they were territories. Okay. So, but when did Washington become a state? Was it in October of 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
What happened?
Go ahead.
What happened is they all entered territorial statehood in terms of having a constitution with a basically a service provider, right? So they had like the state of Washington, the state of Oregon, the state of Idaho prior to the Civil War. But the underlying state was not our state. The underlying state was a corporation that had already been set up by the British territorial government as part of its restructuring of how it was doing business in this country under the Northwest Ordinance in the 1840s. So what happened is that the switcheroo, the presto changeo that we all noticed after the Civil War, it was actually being prepared for before the Civil War. And they had already incorporated these state trusts, and they had already incorporated the state of state organizations, and they were already set up as territorial states, right? Before the Civil War. So in those far western states where the land grab was on and the fraud was already getting organized, this was like a sting operation that began in the 1840s and then just continued on after the Civil War on a broader scale. And so that's what you see in these far western states, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. They were all engaged in setting up a territorial statehood prior to the Civil War. It's very interesting, but you know, where the pedal hits the metal, and I've had this.
You're muted, Anna.
No, she's not muted. Everyone can hear her. Go ahead, Anna.
The where the pedal hits the metal is whether or not a state was actually enrolled and read into the congressional record. And when you look for that in the 1840s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you don't see it for these states. So they were never enrolled and they were never actually read into the congressional record. But what you do see is that these state of state organizations were privately organized, and the British territorial state trusts were established for British territorial citizens living in those states in the 1840s and 50s. So this was a British territorial Oregon. It was not an American Oregon.
Okay. So I got another question for you. It's kind of a funny one, but in this whole conversation of us all talking about this and trying to get out of our head whatever, because we just confused ourselves so much, you know, I threw in this. Will the real Trump please stand up? Because if the election was stolen in 2020, okay, and Washington wasn't a state until 2020, that kind of chokes up their election a little bit.
Oh, the whole thing is choked up.
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing is like a gigantic domino chain. Yeah, it's a cluster. You know, you knock over one and it just goes clink, 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 clink.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Okay, well, you answered the question, and so love you and appreciate you, and have a beautiful evening. I yield.
You too.
Thanks, Marlene. That was a great question. All right, Loretta Pat on Missouri. Go ahead, Loretta.
Hi, Anna. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm just cheerful as ever.
Oh, good. Well, I wanted to give you some positive news from Missouri. So we had our second face-to-face meeting in April, and since that time, we have brought in several more ASNs. And so we're very excited, and some of them are ready to, they're hitting the ground running and ready to participate, which is for me even more exciting. So we also have our Marshal at Arms currently in training with the Continental Marshals, and so that's also exciting. So he's really ramping up to get his office set up and has been chomping at the bit. So we're really excited about that too. So thank you to the Federation and the Continental Marshals. And we have a new interim treasurer that we're working on that's going through the vetting process, and we'll be meeting with the Continental Marshals too to have her vetting done. And so that's in the process. And let's see here, we've been continuing to work on our militia pillar. Our drill assembly pillar is something that we had just started. But one of the big things that we're working on is outreach, and we are taking advantage of this coming the July 4th celebration, and we're going to have a float and also a booth at some of the different July 4th celebrations that are coming up. So we're just really excited, and I wanted to let you know the good news with all of that. But right before coming on to this meeting tonight, we had a militia pillar meeting. And so I do have a couple of questions from that meeting and that I want to make sure that I ask. And so jurisdiction overlap between borders, particularly the waterway borders. Mississippi and Missouri are both navigable waterways. And we know that that's maritime jurisdiction. How do we handle that with the land jurisdiction?
Well, basically, the navigable waterways come under federal jurisdiction. The states on either side work with the federal authorities. The states control the land from, and I think well, I won't talk off the top of my head about that, but there is an established amount of riverbank that is in federal territory, right?
Okay.
And that is to guarantee the free flow of commerce, ironically enough, but it's designed so that everybody can use the rivers to bring goods and to trade. So that part of it is federal. And that's where the PKTF comes in real handy, because they kind of smooth the way and make sure that those relationships between the federal and the state are working as they should, and nobody's overstepping anything, and it's all just, the authorities are clean and everybody knows what the law is. And that was all established under the Constitution. So it's, the treaties underlying the Constitution were then implemented, and it's pretty much cut and dried.
Okay, so if we just take a look at those treaties, we'll be able to see what our part is as far as what we're supposed to do for border defense.
Well, if there's ever any kind of an actual invasion by sea or by river, as the case may be, then that comes under wartime, and that would be true admiralty, and it would be under American admiralty law, because we do have an actual land jurisdiction government that's in session, and so it would come under American admiralty law. And the
Give it here. Give it here. Give it here.
hello.
Got it.
And anyway, again, it's a matter of working with whoever. It would be the Federation in that case. It would be the Federation and the state.
Okay. All right. And then when it comes to the federal lands that are within the state, so there's, especially in Missouri, it seems to be like a lot of federal parks and different things like that. How do we handle those?
Well, really, there are no federal parks.
Okay.
Unless the state has actually bequeathed land to a federal entity, that federal entity is just acting upon presumption and presumption of acquiescence. Okay, but if your state assembly has never met and set aside this clump of land and given it to the federal entity for a specific purpose related to the Constitution and their duties under the Constitution, then it doesn't actually properly exist.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's what we needed to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Just really quick, I am in the process too. We're trying to reach out to all of the border states of Missouri. And so if the militia commander or state coordinators are on this call, or if somebody can at least let them know, if they could please contact me at coordinator at the MissouriAssembly.land or our militia at militia at the MissouriAssembly.land. I would really appreciate that. We're trying to start working with our border states as well at this time. So thank you, Anna.
That's important for Missouri. I never
Yeah.
realized that Missouri had 10 other states abutting it.
Yes. Yep. Which
It's
is really
amazing.
important. Yeah. For us to get ourselves seated and standing and everything. So thank you.
Yeah.
I yield. Have a great night.
You too. I think
Thanks.
we should rename Missouri the Crossroads State.
Yeah. That's Indiana. Yes. But yes, I think you're right. Instead of the show me, although I don't know, Missouri has needed to be shown everything. So, all right. Thank
Yay,
you.
made me laugh. Have fun, kids.
And
Love you.
really quick, before we go to Mike Brimage, we have 3 more hands up before we get to a quarter past the hour. I just want to do a little housekeeping because we have someone on the call named Zoom User. And on this call, we require that you have your name and your state. So look down at your own screen, and if you are Zoom user, please rename yourself so that we know who you are. And if you choose not to do that, we're going to put you in the waiting room within 60 seconds. So Mike Brimage, you're up next. Go ahead, Mike. And Mike, you're muted, so you need to unmute. Last call for Mike Brimage on Washington. All right, we'll go back to Mike after Rebecca. Rebecca Roberts, go ahead, you're up next.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, Anna. Hello from North Carolina.
Hi.
Big wave.
I don't know which Rebecca Roberts I'm talking to, the international murderess.
I'm up to 5 or 6. I don't know how many. 5 or 6 and some
and counting.
Yeah.
Rebecca, you're kind of breaking up.
What I talk about.
Rebecca, you know what? You might want to shut off your video to save some bandwidth.
I'm going off video.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm up in the I'm up in the boonies, and yeah, we got rained on and a lot, and it seemed like Helene a bit for a minute there for a couple of days, but it all passed. Thanks so much for the sun and the blue sky. So we're okay. But on North Carolina, I just wanted to give you a little report because I know you're busy and you don't read everything. So and you don't have to. It's all good. You're doing amazing, important things. Sorry. Anyway, we are building our and it's steady. We are building our website. We are having our militia meetings. We are building our committees up. We are educating everyone and going through our official documents that we adopted. We have wonderful people setting up our recording secretary training, and you know Nancy Goldstein's doing that. We are adopting our official documents and we are electing members. We're doing, we're starting to get our new member orientation / education together, but we're doing a lot. And I have a question. If you can still hear me. That is, if we have to, I heard your speech at the beginning about as fast as we can, we need to actually be a government standing. So let's do this as stably as possible with good foundation. When Lisa teaches us in her wonderful coordinator training that we really need 56 for our courts to be standing, it feels like a big number. Is there any way we can get to a skeleton crew and have less so we can still stand up everything in our courts? And I know the 56 is a researched number, but is there possible that we could do some repeats in there in terms of juries appearing in different juries? And do they have to be completely different juries every time you would hear that case? So I don't know if you know exactly what I'm talking about, but it feels a little overwhelming to have to build a new member base and educate in order to get that question. I yield.
Technically, the bottom line thou shalt have number for a jury is 26. Okay, not 56, 26. But I'm sure that Lisa is including the grand jury and a trial jury. And you can handle the grand jury in two different ways. Now, traditionally, what we've seen in the British Empire and the English-speaking countries in general, for the past, say, 500 years with grand juries, is that grand juries can be called to consider a specific case, a specific accusation, or they can be standing grand juries that are impaneled, is the word, for a period of time, like 3 months or 6 months. And during that time, those grand juries are presented with different cases and information that they then act upon on a continuing basis. Now, at this point, with the number of people we have, it's unlikely that we would need a standing grand jury. You're not going to be getting that much flow and volume of business, so to speak, coming in every week to have a grand jury on a standing basis. So what you would do is when you have a question, a problem come up and it needs to be investigated and considered as to whether or not there's enough there to bring charges, is that you would call a grand jury. You'd say, come on, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, here's the question. And they would act as a grand jury. Okay, that's fine. And it's all by law. You just draw names out of a hat. It's not like you target people to serve or not serve. You just at random. You have a 26-member jury pool, you draw 12 people. Okay. And that's how you can operate a grand jury just starting out. Now, later on, you're going to have more people, you're going to have more different issues coming up, and you'll have a standing grand jury. But for right now, all you need to do is call grand juries as issues arise. The trial juries have 12 members plus a couple of alternates, you know, in case somebody gets sick, their mother dies and they have to go back home and take care of siblings or whatever it is. You know, you have a couple of people that are sitting in that are jurors, but they're basically alternate jurors. Okay. So you can get along with that kind of a deal with only 26 people, and we have done it. Okay. But ultimately, Lisa's right that you will want to have enough to fill all of those jury slots on a continuing basis so that you have people ready for different circumstances that come up. I mean, you know,
So
it's
may
possible. Yeah.
I was going to add to that is that the most important part of having enough people to spread around, as Anna would say, is you can't have somebody who's on a grand jury who's also on a trial jury.
Right.
So they can't serve on both those on the same case. And
Or at
that's
the same time.
where, right, or at the same time. And so that's where it's important to develop enough jurors that you can effectively, because you can't take somebody into a grand jury and then not have enough jurors, and they put an indictment against them and a presentment, and then not have enough jurors to actually take them into trial, because you only have a certain amount of time, because we believe in fast justice, you know, a due course of time. You have to be able to get them in, get them through the court system. You have 30 days. And if you don't have a good enough jury pool to do that process, then you may administer some misjustice to that.
Right. And when you have only 26 people, you've only got a 2-person wiggle room there in terms of being able to call the jury. So always you want a bigger jury pool, but we have made it work with only 26 people before when we were first getting started. And so I hope that answers your question.
And you also have to remember you have to have a justice. You have to have a clerk. You have to have a recorder. That number 52 involves all of your court personnel too. Okay.
Yeah, that is another aspect of it. You know, I'm just talking about jurors. I'm not talking about the court staff.
Right. Court staff can't do dual duty, so they can't be on a jury, they can't be on a grand jury and be on court staff. So that's where the collides come in.
So if there's 300 people on North Carolina, yeah, if there are 300 people on North Carolina, they're all applicable, or what's the word? They can all serve on the juries, correct?
Right.
You just do the pool and you call them. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so we have the numbers. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so we always want more jurors because, of course, there are a lot of times when people, for whatever reason, have real stress in their lives and can't take the time off to do it. But you know what I mean? Having 300 people, you should be able to get 12 at any given moment.
You can't compel them to serve, even though they have a duty to serve. The two things are different.
Yeah. Thank you both so much. And we're sending our money right now, okay, to the Federation.
Begging posture.
No.
Looking
No,
like a
you don't
hungry
have
dog.
to do that. All right. God bless you.
It's amazing, you know, since we started this, we've gotten so close to being in the red. I think at the lowest point, we were 39 cents above being overdrawn. But somehow we've never gone below. We've always somehow always had enough money to do what we really needed to do. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's the hand of God kind of stuff. Makes chills go down my spine.
Supernatural for sure. All right, we have 2 more hands and 5 more minutes. So next up, we've got Jennifer Gibson. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Hi, Anna. This is Jennifer Gibson on Florida. I actually don't have a question. I just had a quick update from Florida. We did get our decorum voted on and accepted by our assembly. It went through committee, discussion, voting, and we were super excited about that. It's literally our first procedural document on Florida that has been through the right process. So I was just sharing, we had, a little cheerleader moment at the end of that. It's been kind of a long haul, but we definitely have momentum and we're going to be getting our procedures in place relatively quickly. And I just wanted to give you an update on Florida.
That's great. I'm very pleased to hear that. We really support the work that's being done in Florida. It seems like there were a lot of gaps that just never got filled in or never got nailed down in Florida. And we're grateful to be seeing that happening now. It's certainly a big step forward for everyone that has been working to make this a good assembly that's going to serve the people. And, there's always a lot of kind of, I'll call it mischief that goes on. But it's up to the people of each state to, keep a weather eye and always kind of judge what's going on against the standards of what you know to be true about our American government versus the British territorial government. And that's, part of what we all have to learn. And I must say, Jennifer, I can tell that you have spent your time well and have learned a lot about the separate topics that you bring up. And, our coordinators are called to do that kind of study and to investigate these different questions as they come up in terms of organizing. And so reading the actual material that we have available, attending the training workshops, and taking advantage of the specialists that we have to learn more about individual issues that you may encounter is all part of it. And I'm very grateful to see that Florida is now kind of joining in the effort and, getting behind the steps. And just like I'm very grateful to Lisa that she's taken the bull by the horns and is providing coordinator training. And, these have been some long-term gaps that needed to be filled. And so a hearty congratulations on Florida. I'm glad to see that you've all now agreed how you're going to behave with each other in public meetings. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much. Onward and upward.
No drunkenness and no swearing.
No, definitely not. Not allowed. I would like to thank Lisa too, because she has been holding our hands as we struggle through, and I'm sure she's happy that finally something happened.
Well,
Concrete.
She's been dealing with the students for a long time, so.
A lot of drama she has to deal with.
Oh, I know. We all do. We all do.
Yeah.
And It's unfortunate, but it's part of the human story. And when we rise above our selfishness and really think in terms of the mission of the government to protect the people and their property, that's when the pedal hits the metal. That's when we really understand our job. And all the other stuff, all of the rules, regulations, policies, and procedures that have been imposed upon us are then relegated to their proper position as rules for our employees. Right?
Yes.
We're called to a higher standard, which is thankfully much simpler, much more real, more human. We don't have to check our little code book and determine that we're in compliance with code 20 point dot dot. We have to use our hearts, our common sense, our conscience. Those things are those attributes that tell us if it's reasonable or not to behave in a certain way in a public meeting. And so decorum is one of those areas where we are called to a higher standard. And it should be a simpler standard to just have respect for ourselves and for our fellow man, and to behave with the respect and the care and consideration that we would hope to have shown to us. That's essentially what decorum is all about.
The golden rule. We got it.
Good.
Thank you so much, Anna. Have a good night.
Yep, you too,
I
Jennifer.
yield.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, and our last question for tonight, Cynthia. Go ahead, Cynthia.
All right, I have a question, and it's one of the quandaries. So, in the oversight, the General Assembly oversight, if they get in a quandary, are they underneath the ombudsman? And happens to be there's been a big blow up on our oversight, and our coordinators asked for a 2-week pause to go through recordings and to look at the situation. And then our marshal at arms overrode the coordinators and said, you cannot shut the oversight down. And the oversight replaced all of the 5 sitting voting members with a brand new group, just came in and wiped them out in 1 week. And had a meeting, did not even come to the General Assembly to notify anyone that they were wiping out the old group and coming in with a new. And now that there's a problem, and I thought that oversight refers criminal to the ombudsman refers to oversight criminal matters, and the marshal refers criminal matters to oversight. Not that the marshal was in charge, it's a conflict of interest, as well as the ombudsman who refers things, it's a conflict of interest for them to be on this oversight. Help me.
It doesn't sound right, does it?
No, it doesn't. But if you don't say it, no one's going to believe it. And even though Lisa's taught it, it has to come out of your mouth to have any legitimacy.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to have that kind of power, but I do have that kind of expertise. I guess that's the way to put it. The ombudsman is there for when the people have a problem with the assembly. Not a criminal matter, but say something like they're required to provide a photograph in order to hold a particular office, that and they don't agree because they don't want their photograph published. Okay. That's the kind of thing that the ombudsman works with. It's not a criminal issue. It's maybe a procedural issue or a requirement that seems unfair, or somebody got overcharged for some particular service, and things of that nature, where there's not a crime involved, but there's a controversy of some kind. So the ombudsman is there to work with the people of the assembly to resolve those kinds of problems. Okay? The oversight committee is there in case there is an accusation or there is, significant evidence of wrongdoing of a criminal nature within the assembly itself. And an example of that might be donations for the militia. Say that equipment is being donated to the militia and it just disappears. Nobody knows where it is. And that's the kind of thing that you take to the oversight committee to make sure that the assembly as a whole is operating in an honest and responsible fashion, and that you're not suffering from things like embezzlement, theft. Those are the most common things, but there could be other things too. You could have a member that was engaging in slander against another member. You could have a member that was, misrepresenting the assembly in a criminal fashion, say going out to the community and offering freedom packages at $1,500 a pop, things of that nature that can get into the realm of being criminal. And so when you have criminal type activities going on, you have the oversight committee to address those. Now, certainly it looks bad when you have that kind of a changeover in a standing committee without action by the General Assembly, and it would have to be very justified. I mean, if, for example, all 5 members of the oversight committee were suspected of being complicit in the crime that was being described, something, there are a lot of weird things that happened. It's possible, but it would be a General Assembly issue to bring it forward to the General Assembly and say, okay, well, this was supposed to be handled by the oversight committee, but we were faced with this. Okay. And you don't have to get into the individual names of people or anything. You can just say we had an incident where we had evidence of embezzlement. The oversight committee was supposed to take care of it. And then we had this big dust up, and there was a movement to replace all of the members of the oversight committee. Then bring forward the members of the oversight committee and get the facts out in front of the people so they can make some decent decisions about, okay, do we want to have a larger oversight committee, for example? If you got 10 people who want to serve, do we want 10 people on the oversight committee? Well, maybe we need 10 people on the oversight committee. Welcome aboard. And make those kinds of decisions to make it official and make it clean. And the role of the marshal at arms, if he were, without more information, it's hard to say, but it is possible that he would have a situation where he felt it was absolutely necessary to bring on new people on the committee because there was a conflict of interest, or because there was a situation that was questionable, and he just wanted to make sure that we're starting over with a clean slate and having another set of eyes on this.
Well, that was what our coordinators were trying to do, was just to settle things down and to get an understanding. And then this group comes in, replaces everybody without any acknowledgement, and then they think they go to the ombudsman. Any problem that comes up in oversight goes to the General Assembly, especially if there's no case. And cases and claims are all private and held personally and privately. They're not an asset of the assembly. So these people are holding private assets or any cases or claims and not giving them to the assembly. Don't tell me that's correct.
Well, ultimately, it would go to the General Assembly if it's a crime. Ultimately, it would go to the General Assembly if it's a civil matter that required damages. And so it's a General Assembly matter if it gets that far. I mean, if the Oversight Committee comes to the conclusion of, yeah, it really does look like we have embezzlement, then they would prefer charges to the grand jury. The grand jury would consider it as that second set of eyes, right? And they would make a final determination of whether they were going to bring this to trial, right?
That's right.
And
I just wanted to make sure I understood, because what I'm being told is not what I've always understood, and it's not what Lisa teaches. And Lisa said it was okay to take a 2-week pause and to go through and look at what the situation was. Well, then the marshal overrode the coordinators, and it's so thick in there that nobody can breathe or get a breath of air. You can't ask a question. And all of the old stuff from before is being drug up, and it's been over a year, and that seems to be the on the tip of every tongue. Is we want to talk about these 18 investigations, we want to talk about all of this trouble. Well, that's not oversight. Oversight's a crime. Have you got a case and a claim that has been sent there? Then you investigate that. It goes to the General Assembly for prosecution, or it's not. Help me.
well, it's a pretty simple process. I mean, if you keep it straight that the ombudsman is for civil matters and the oversight is for criminal matters, and that if it can't be resolved by the ombudsman, it goes to the General Assembly for, a decision. If it can't, if the criminal case looks like it's solid enough to pursue, well, then it goes to the grand jury, and from the grand jury to the trial jury.
So our marshal at arms has been here lately showing up on the oversight. So is it his place to be on oversight, even if there's a disagreement, and for him to take charge and make decisions?
Well, no, the role of the marshal at arms is supposed to be, he could certainly attend an oversight committee or any other committee meeting. These committees are open to the public for the most part, unless there's some really valid reason why they have to have like IBA meetings. But no, the role of the marshal at arms is, unless there was a security issue that required his concern and expertise, would not be considered a member of the oversight committee. They would call him in and they would ask him about a specific thing. For example, and we have had examples of this too, by the way, in our history, where say an FBI agent infiltrated an assembly and tried to get people to talk about contingency plans and creating a secret arsenal, or something like that. That this is where you get the marshal at arms involved, so that they are able to number one, be aware of the problem. Number two, quash it before it becomes a problem, right? A real problem. And so certainly the oversight committee might want to engage the marshal at arms, and the marshal at arms might want to bring things forward to the oversight committee too. But it's not normally any part of the marshal at arms to be sitting on an oversight committee as a member, because at the same time that they are an ASN, right, they're also working for the Federation as a kind of a loaner to the assembly until it's got its act together and actually has a sergeant at arms.
That's a dual jurisdiction standing in two, no different than the peacekeeping task force liaison could not stand in two jurisdictions. I understand that. I
At the
appreciate
same
your time.
time.
I just needed to get a recording with you saying it because I didn't think I was that far off base, but I'm sure you'll straighten me out if I am.
Well, I try, but anyway, the thing is that everybody has, I guess you could put it as private rights and public rights. When you're in an office, you don't lose your right to, as an ASN just because you're standing in a public office. But they're separate. You know, your public function is separate from your private life. And so if you're operating in a public office as, say, a master, in the court, or you're acting as a member of the peacekeeping establishment, that's your office, that's your official capacity. And in that official capacity, you can do things that you can't do as just Joe Average. But at the same time, Joe Average still exists. And so the right of Joe Average to say vote on a new sanitation system, sure, he still has his right to vote on things like that. And so it's kind of a fine line of, are you operating as Joe Plumber or are you operating as Joe? You know, do you have this function that's, your official, you've done all of the hop through the hoops, you've been elected, you've been vetted, you've got all this other stuff, and now you have this official capacity and you're doing it in your official capacity, or are you just operating as Joe, who came to a meeting because he was interested? So
Thank
that's kind
you.
of hard to do sometimes. Sometimes that's hard for people to keep separate in their own minds. And certainly it's sometimes difficult for people to keep separate looking in on it.
I appreciate your time. I just knew that the steps I've always understood were not being followed and that it has to go back to the General Assembly if there's any questions. And especially when there's no handbooks, no ground books, no process, no procedure, no nothing. And you just wipe an entire committee out that just started April the 3rd. Doesn't seem just exactly right. I do appreciate your time. I yield.
Okay.
May I, Anna, real quick?
Go ahead, Lee.
I don't think anybody has, any one person on any of our assemblies has that kind of power or control. They don't own committees. Even if they're chairman of a committee, they're really just the spokesperson for that committee. So there's no control or ability to, I use the word lord over anyone else on the assembly. They are all equal. And that should be done at the consent of everyone, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Well,
Thank you.
guys, we managed to get through another coordinator call.
Woohoo!
We answered all the questions. And nobody got angry, or at least not too angry. And, I think we're doing good.
We are doing good, and only 20 minutes over, Anna. So
It wasn't one of those 5-hour rants, right?
All
I
right.
had to break up into 3 different blanks. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Everything everything is going well, okay? We are dealing well with our world. The world is kind of weird and we're bouncing around a good bit, but we're doing okay. And we're here. And being here really matters. Each and every one of us being here really matters. you know, I go into these meetings, I go into these, you know, conferencey type situations, and there are times when I feel very alone. And then I just remember all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're not alone, Anna. We may not have all the knowledge that you have, and we may not have all the experience, but I know we're all doing our best. And thank you for making yourself available for us to ask all of these important questions and to help to guide our assemblies to stand up and do it properly, lawfully, peacefully. And we will be successful. We will.
Those are wonderful words to my ears. I just love it when people stand in their power and in their light and stand up for their rights and do it lawfully and peacefully and just stand there. It is so powerful when you do.
That's right.
Well, everyone, have a wonderful, productive week. Go out there and build bridges and make friends and do all the things that you need to do to support your lives and your families and your country, your state of the union, your county. Remember that we're all in this together, and it's to our eternal honor and our eternal benefit to stand together and work through any problems that we have. So make that a priority. Make yourself a priority. I have asked everybody to spend extra time just giving themselves some extra rest and some extra love, because we don't do enough of that, and because we have a time period here when we have a little bit of breathing space. And I feel like it's almost like it's a pause that God gave us to rest up and restore our souls and think about what's really important to us, and, you know, the things that we cherish and that we want to see in our lives and in our country. If we think about those things and kind of redirect our attention away from all the ugly stuff that's happening and all the thievery and the lack of consensus and the lies and everything else that's going on, then we benefit ourselves in that we keep centered on what we want. And we also benefit the world at large, because by doing that, we bring it forward into reality. We keep working toward what's good and putting our energy into what's fair. And by doing that, we make it possible for other solutions than the really ugly things that had been planned for us. And so keep your focus. Do your nightly rituals with verb, give yourself that extra 15 minutes in the bathtub, and keep centered on what's valuable and what's right. I will see you guys next week, God willing. And until then, be blessed, be peaceful, be happy. Try not to get upset by any of the turkeys that are trying to sit on our heads. And I will keep up my end here. I will keep on in the international venue. I'm bringing on some more Federation staff. We have a need for them. We've had some losses this year due to death and disability. As I've told you, most of the Federation people are in their 80s. So we do have some health issues, and we do have some losses, just people dying. And I've brought on some new people to help me with law issues. I've brought on some new people to help me with prosecution issues. And we've brought on a whole new suite of lawyer types of various sort to help us. So we now have a total of 6 full-time lawyers and paralegals that are assisting us in our day-to-day function, which is great because that frees me up from a lot of responsibility for research and development that I couldn't do otherwise. And then we have young Eric is taking up more and more responsibility. I'm very proud of him. I'm sure his father would be proud of him, that he is kind of stepping into those very big shoes and beginning to grapple with what does it mean to stand as the last bastion, the last man standing for an entire country. And Harold is continuing to make ground and get better. So he will be back to delight everybody with his unique sense of humor. And Shannon is not here with us tonight because those of you who know him know that he has a trick back and his back went out, and he's currently he's under enforced bed rest tonight, but we look forward to having him back soon. So that's the report from the party hardies here at Ground Zero in Big Lake, Alaska. I hope that you're all doing well and looking forward to the next week as much as I am. There are some big shoes that are about to drop, and they're good shoes. They're things that have been worked on for a long time. So, God bless everyone. Good night.
Good night, Anna.
Good night, Anna.
Good night,
Love you.
Anna. Good night.
Love.
Good night, everyone. Good night,
God
Anna.
bless you, Anna. Bye.
Good night.
Good night, Anna.
Gratitude to you and
Good night, Anna.
everybody else. Thank you.
Good night, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next Thursday.
Okie doke.
Good night,
Good night,
Michelle.
Michelle.